What's going on, everyone? And thank you for tuning in to another episode of I'm Just Curtis. I'm Curtis. Yeah, still haven't figured out a better way to intro the show. To be honest, hadn't really put any real thought to it. But, it is what it is. We just gonna rock with it. And in the interest of being honest, I'm gonna be honest about something else. I'm not going to wait until a year or 2 years or 3 years down the line to share this with you, however long God allows this thing to run for. No, we're going to have that conversation right now. And the truth is, I did not want to do a podcast. I didn't want to do this. And there's a couple reasons as to why. Now, I don't want it to be confused. I'm no stranger to podcasting. I've done it before. I got an old podcast from a couple years back that I did back when I was not just in the world, but I was also of the world. Boy, back then that mouth was foul. But I'm not a stranger to it. But it was a lot of work. You understand what I'm saying? It was a lot of effort. It was a lot of things that I had to deal with, which is the first reason why I didn't want to do it. There was just so much work that had to go into it. Trying to keep up with all the editing and all the processing of the audio and things of that nature. It was a lot for one person to do. Because even as I'm sitting here right now, this is a one-man operation. The audio, the lighting, the visuals, all of it is me. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's editing this for me. Nobody's behind the camera. You can't see it, but I have a monitor right over here making sure that my angles look good. I'm doing this all by myself. The second reason that I didn't really want to do this is because when you look at the landscape of podcasting as a whole, but even if you buckle down into one specific niche, how many different Christian content creators are out there doing podcasts? How many? I'm just a drop in the bucket for real. So, and yeah, don't get it twisted. Like I said in the first episode, I'm not doing this because I care to make money. I'm not doing this because I care about how many followers I gain. It ain't about that. I'm literally doing this because I'm being obedient to what God has told me to do, which I can understand how to some people that can sound like bull, Oh, you hear it so often. You hear so many people saying, hey, I'm just following what God told me. God told me to do this. God told me to say that. I can understand how for some people it sounds like a bunch of malarkey. But for some of us, it's the truth. For many of us, it's the truth. We are literally doing what we know God has called us to do, what we know God has said for us to do. Because the truth is, when God calls you to do something, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to line up with what you think it should line up with. You just do it, right? So, I'm doing it, But the third reason that I didn't want to get into this is because I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to talk about every other week or every week, as often as most podcasts are dropped every week? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to share every single week? How am I going to make this a show that matters every single week? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still a baby in this Christian walk. I'm walking, but I'm stumbling. You understand me? And I'm not deep enough in my understanding of the word and in my knowledge of the word to give a whole lot. I'm still figuring this thing out. But God shared something with me that I feel like I have to share with you for this episode, because another truthful moment, this wasn't even going to be my second episode. God gave me the context for my second episode in the middle of me making my first. When I was having all these questions, he gave me the answer. And the answer is this. What if the truth of the matter is that the very things that God has called you to do, he already prepared you for? You were already being prepared for it before you stepped into it. I could reference my military career. I did 7 years in the Army. I was prepared for war before I was sent to war. That's the purpose of basic training. You get all the necessary information and understanding of what it is to be a soldier before you actually have to be a soldier. Which stands to reason that God is not going to call you into something that he has not already prepared you for. Like, as I'm sitting here right now, I can think of several times in my past where God has done things that set me up for right now. Because the way God moves through life, well, the way we move through life and we treat life like a game of checkers. We're just trying to clear the board. We're just trying to dominate the competition. We're just trying to come out on the other end victorious. There's really no thought, no rhyme, no reason to the moves that we make. Just let me knock every other piece off the board so I can dominate. But God treats life and God moves us through life like a game of chess. Chess is very strategic. You don't just move your pieces all willy-nilly. Each piece has a specific movement that it can make. So not only are you having to be strategic in what piece you move and when, but you're also having to be strategic on what the next move is going to be and what the move after that is going to be. You have to think multiple moves ahead, and you also have to think about what move your opponent is going to make so that you can calculate what you're going to do. Everything that God does is strategic. And in the last episode, I spent about 30 minutes talking about everything from 2018 to present day that led me into this position that I'm in right now. But I want to focus on a very specific area of that time frame. I want to go back to 2020, early 2020, pre-COVID 2020. At this point, I'm working full time for the urgent care. I'm just shy of a year living in my new home. I just found out that I got twins on the way. On top of that, I just found out my son might be on the spectrum. A lot of things are happening for me in this time, good and bad. And so I'm at work one day, rationalizing all these things, more specifically the fact that I'm about to go from 1 to 3 in one jump. And on top of going from 1 to 3, one of the 3 has this situation that I have to figure out how to navigate. I'm in the triage room. The patient is ready to be seen. I call them in, get their chief complaint, get their medical history and all of that. And I'm about to send them to their room. Now, little sidebar. In the triage room at my job, we are expected to have a patient in and out in 3 minutes. I never did that. You can go talk to any of my old coworkers. They will all tell you there was not a single time I ever had a patient in and out of that room in 3 minutes. You was lucky if I got them out in 10, because I'm a talker. I like to talk to people. The only time I had a patient out in 10 minutes was if the vibes just wasn't there. They just wasn't. That wasn't my cup of tea. But I'm getting ready to put the patient in their room. And just as I'm about to do it, the patient says, I got a question to ask you. I said, okay, go ahead and ask. And she says to me, do you like what you do for a living? I'm sitting there like, where did this question come from? Did I do something or say something or present myself in a manner that shows that I really hate this job? Because I hate this job. So I look at her kind of like, I said, you want the truth? She says, yes. Okay. I hate it here. I hate everything about this job. I detest coming to work every day. But I do my best not to show you or any other patient for that matter, because you're not the reason that I dislike this job. You just came here because you needed help, and it's my job to help you. So I try my best to maintain an upbeat attitude and a positive energy Because the last thing you want to do is come into a clinic in your worst moment and have someone amplify how you feel. She said, wow, I appreciate that. And she asked me, if I wasn't working for the urgent care, what would I be doing? And I told her I'd be behind the camera somewhere, you know? And that first question began a trend. I would regularly come across people asking me the very same question. Do I like what I do? How do I like what I do? Am I happy in the job that I'm in? Any form that they could ask me this, they asked me. And the trend shifted to not just patients that were coming into the clinic, it shifted to people who were working with me as well. See, during this time, as I had said in the previous episode, you know, I had at this point surrendered to God and given it all to God, so on and so forth. So everything that I said was my goals for the year were starting to happen. I was making more money than I ever made in my life. I did buy my house. My business was growing. And actively, I would have to take my work with me, my photography and my cinematography with me to edit the work, because the job that I'm at, I'm there for 12 hours. I'm there from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. And that's if we get out on time. Big if. Plenty of times I didn't get home until 10:30 at night. So I would take my work with me. So in between patients or when we had a dead moment, I'm on my laptop, editing, video, photos, whatever. And I had this one coworker named Brittany. Love Brittany to death. I hope she sees this. And she would always say to me, Curtis, what are you doing here? Why are you here? You are too talented, you are too gifted, and you're wasting it here. And not only would she say it, she would rally up my coworkers behind her to get them to echo what she was saying. And they always did. Yeah, Kurt, you too good. You're a great photographer. You're a great videographer. You should be putting work there. Why are you here when you could be doing that? And I had an excuse every single time. Well, I'm here because, you know, I gotta make sure I can provide for the family and I gotta make sure I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I gotta make sure everybody's taken care of, so on and so forth. That was my response every single time. But she never let up. She would always say, Curtis, you don't belong here. This is not where you should be. This is not where you should be building your life. This isn't it. This isn't it. So fast forward to 2021 when I finally leave my job. I'm full-time house husband. I'm taking care of the household, making sure everybody's fed and clean and alive, and I'm doing all the things. And my business is still growing, not as fast as I would like it to, but it's still growing. And then I get a phone call from my buddy Cody. Now Cody is like one of the closest things to a brother I have. Blood couldn't make us any closer. And Cody hits me up one day and says, Kurt, are you still doing the photography and cinematography? I'm like, yeah, man, I ain't never giving that up. That's just me. That's what I do. I'm always gonna be doing this. And Cody says to me, well, you should really consider doing BNI. Now, BNI stands for Business Networking International. It is the largest small business networking organization in the world, hence international in the name. When I tell you I've had people from India reach out to me about my work, like I've had people from India reach out to me about my work. And so he tells me, man, you should come do BNI. And I thought to myself, I ain't doing that. Cause he told me what it would cost and all the particulars. Cause he told me what it would cost and he told me all the particulars behind it. And I'm thinking to myself, I ain't got that, bro. I don't have that. He says, well, bro, just come to the meeting, get you some free breakfast, put your name out there, let the people get to know you for a second. And if you like it, great, join. If you don't, hey, I understand. But don't say no until you've tried it out first. Okay, cool. We'll give it a shot. I go to the first meeting. And it goes without saying, I was a hit. The people loved me. I had people in there laughing. I had people in there like very interested in me as a person, not just a photographer. I remember, so basically when you go into the meetings, right, you stand up, you tell them who you are and what you do and how they can refer you and things like that. And I stood up. I said, what's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis Washington, owner of Abstract Focus Media Photography and Cinematography. I do it all. Newborn, maternity, engagement, wedding, graduation. I'll do your birthday shoot, just not in your birthday suit. Had them rolling. They were rolling. And at the time, there was this thing called Beningo, which is BNI-NGO, basically bingo. And they had certain people that they needed to fill the slots for the roster, and whoever filled the slots, there was a cash prize or something like that. And a photographer was one of the slots. So Cody, realistically, was trying to get Beningo. But needless to say, the room was pretty much sold. They wanted me as their photographer. They wanted me in. Okay, cool. Came to a second meeting, went to a third meeting, and I finally put in my application and I joined BNI. And BNI, I will say this, BNI was definitely fruitful. My first year of the only year that I actually did it, because, I'm working a full-time job again now. Long story behind that. But my 1 year that I was in BNI, I actually made more money in that year than I did working at the urgent care. I made more money. Unfortunately, it still wasn't enough to sustain life, not because making money on a business is different than making money on a job. We ain't gonna go into all the details about it. During that time, there's this gentleman by the name of Wright Brennan, owner of C. Wright Roofing here in South Carolina. Check him out. He's a great roofer. Wright Brennan decides that he wants to re-up a show that he used to do called Lost in the Midlands. And basically, in Lost in the Midlands, what he did was he spoke to local business owners, politicians, all the things above, and he spoke to them about the state of South Carolina, but more specifically the Midlands, which is Columbia, Irmo, Lexington, those areas. And he decided that he wanted me to be a part of his show. He wanted me to be the creative director for it. I said, yeah, let's do it. We found a studio. The studio provides almost everything that we need, but it still had a couple things that we needed. It still had a couple things that were needed. And we start recording the show. We start recording the show together. I recorded that show for basically the better part of a year, up until I had to start working a 9 to 5 again and just wasn't able to do it anymore. But I reflect back on all of that because it goes back to what I said earlier. The things that God calls us to do, He had already prepared us for. See, God prepared me to podcast for myself before I decided to podcast for myself. He showed me how to clip. He put me in positions where I had to learn all the ins and outs and all the particulars of at least the recording aspect of podcasting before He called me to do one of my own. He showed me. Even now, as I sit in the grander scheme of what I've been going through for the last couple of years, I can reflect back and see where he was lining me up and preparing me for everything that I'm dealing with right now. He was teaching me the whole time. And see, the thing is, when God calls, he calls collect. Because when he calls you, he's calling you to do something. He's calling you to move in a certain way. But he doesn't make that call until he knows you're ready to pay the fee. He doesn't make that call until he knows you're ready to pay the fee. And the fee is your comfort. The fee is your complacency. The fee is life as you knew it. Because everything is about to change when you answer that phone. To make it a simpler analogy, it's like the movie The Matrix. You take the blue pill, you go back to life as you know it. Nothing changes. You're who you have always been. But if you take the red pill, the veil is lifted, and you start to see life through your spiritual eyes, which are the truest eyes that you can see it through. The truth of the matter is, when God calls you, he's calling you into transformation. When God calls you, he's calling you into elevation. He's calling you into growth. But growth does not exist in the comfort that you've known all this time. Growth does not exist in the life that you were living all this time. Growth does not exist in the things that you knew. That's why the word tells us, forget the former things. See, I am doing a new thing. When God calls you, he's about to do a new thing. This is why they say, this is why the phrase growing pains exists. Because there is no growth without pain. There is no growth without discomfort. There is no growth without stepping out of what made you feel safe. Safety is deadly. Let that sink in. Safety is deadly. Spiritually, it's deadly. You have a purpose. You have a calling on your life, and God is ringing your line, but you won't answer. And you don't recognize that you are choosing death if you continue to ignore that call. Let me be truthful with you. In the time that I have been on this walk since I answered my call, there have been a countless amount of times where I thought to myself, I wish I would have just let that mug ring. I wish I would have looked at that caller ID, saw who was calling, and pressed the red button. Funny, because going back to my first episode again, remember I told you about the meeting that I had with Pastor Johnson, the phone call, and I was gonna let that call just ring. I didn't realize then what I realize now. I'm having this revelation in real time, and I'm fighting back tears because I'm getting kind of emotional as I'm thinking about it. When I answered that phone call from Pastor Johnson, I didn't recognize I was answering a phone call from God on what he was about to do in my life. Because that was the moment everything changed. It just didn't change immediately. It was building over time. Going back to what I said earlier, I can go back years and see what moves God made then to set up for moves that he's making now. Because 8 years later, Pastor Johnson is my pastor. I am a member of his church. As a matter of fact, it's deeper than that. I'll say that. It's deeper than that. The entire time that you have been walking your walk, you have to recognize that God is preparing you for something. He's been preparing you the whole time. So I'm going to say to you what Pastor Johnson has said to me on multiple occasions on phone calls of me venting my frustrations about the season of life that I'm in. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. I know it's tiring. But you have to trust the process. You have to trust the process. And with that being said, thanks for watching. I love you. God loves you more. And may God bless you.